25 in. Now listen to how she what happens. Fitz is she's a woman that she worked with the Bush Housing Administration. That's another story. But what happened was she and a friend were trying to buy a bond fund, a good bond fund that generates some income. So what happened? They found two bond funds that were very good bonds. And what happened was this one fund they bought into had 15% of their funds into Indonesia. This was before the tsunami. Now listen to what she said. Now she had to find out. Now she's colonized. She's very academic and trained and everything, but she don't believe in occult powers. And see, once you close that door to occult powers, you can't what? You can't see, you can't figure the thing out. Where do people get this power from? How do they figure this stuff out? How do they come up with solutions like this? I'm smart, but it's beyond your mind. We're dealing with the supernatural now. Breathe. Wait a minute.
With the rare earths, in a way that scares the Japanese and messes with our, potentially our IT industry. So you're watching a game of Monopoly, and it's getting meaner and meaner, and it's getting more and more dangerous. And oftentimes, as somebody dealing with the flows of money and investment, will look and say, well, I don't think that was a natural event. I think that was a covert op. Because if you look at what was happening with the money before and after, it doesn't make sense. I told you my story of the tsunami.
Yeah, tell us again.
I had a friend who wanted to get a world bond fund, and I researched, and finally he chose two. And one had about 15% of its principal in Indonesian sovereign debt. And right after he took a position, it dropped like a stone. It dropped 15% in value, no change in interest rates, no change in the market, nothing. I couldn't, no one could figure out what in the world. We called the sponsor, no one would take our calls, no one would talk to us. A week later, the tsunami happened. George, they knew. Now, how can somebody trade on inside information a week before a tsunami?
How do they know that?
Well, I have no idea, but
how did they know that?
They created.
They got two solutions. One, angels don't play with harp. You know what harp is? They play with. Or two, they got tied into the what? There's only two you got. And if you don't know those two, you cannot figure out how the hell these people got so damn smart and figured this stuff out. But it's beyond figured out. That's what we're trying to get you to understand. You got to get these people are tied into the occult. These spirits are able to tell you what's happening tomorrow or whatever. See what I'm saying? And this is what happened. She bought into some and didn't ask Yahweh to come to find out the devil took their money.
He set them up.
That's right. Okay, go ahead, Blaine.
I'll tell you something. I went into bed. I'm a very happy person. I sat down for a week and I said, how do you deal in investment in a world where people know a week ahead that there's going to be a tsunami? You look at 9/11, you look at the trading patterns before then. Same thing, trading on insider information. We've seen it again and again. So if you look at the financial flows, there is a war going on 24/7, but it's being fought out through the financial markets. And part of the problem that you're seeing, if you watch the debate at the G20 meetings or the different meetings where the sort of emerging markets are fighting and squabbling with North America and Europe, who are really taxing them through the currency system, the problem they have is they're trying to conduct a real economy, and the problem is the currency is being used for global geopolitics and sort of harvesting. And if is our financial system for warfare and financial speculation and fraud, or is it to serve trading and optimization in the real economy? And that's part of the tension you see fighting out. But we're at war every day, and we are exercising our military and intelligence muscle to make this global taxation stick, because whether it's taxation through the balance sheet or access to cheap natural resources, make no mistake about it, we're subsidizing our lifestyle by harvesting the rest of the planet.
What's going on with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq? I mean, what's really going on?
You know what he says? He said, we tell people what we want to do. We only tell them once or two times. And then we send the jackals in. The jackals are the assassins. And if that don't get it, then they send 101st Cavalry. That's right. And just like you did it. So they don't tell us what you ain't going to do. Right. So America uses a lot of what? Muscle. So, and that is, and all that, if you look at the Pentagon, that's all occult power. So really, you can see then the government has been taken over by very evil forces to perpetuate the bloodlines. Okay, finish this and
You want me to go back to the mortgage?
no, let's finish this up and we'll go back to the
Our read of the situation is we need to dominate that part of the world if we're going to dominate the war for natural resources. You know, if you look at the growth of population, you're talking about a huge population, a young population, a very dynamic population in area, and real competition between Russia, China, and us for resources. And if we're going to keep Russia and China from sort of getting together and ganging up on us, our read is we need to be there. So I see us as having a very aggressive sort of empire position in that area of the world, in Eurasia, for many decades to come. I don't think we're leaving anytime soon.
Why are these big nations, Russia, China, why are they letting us do this? Why are they letting us get away with this?
I don't think they are. You know, now they have their own competition and cooperation, but if you look, after the Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union split apart, we engineered a very big operation. You know, we went in on this privatization kick in Russia and ended up sort of stripping the place significantly. And
so soon as Russia failed, what happens when you lose your immune system?
It just grabs your soul by the disease.
Okay. And as soon as the Soviets lost their power, Rothschilds went in and took all their what?
Resources.
You don't understand. Now you understand the powers. See, when you look at this stuff metaphysically, you can understand it and understand the powers of the devil's kingdom divided, and they're fighting for what?
Power.
Dominance and resources. This is what this thing is all about. And unless you see it that way, and it definitely, when we say we fight, let's clarify, it's the bloodline.
They fight.
They fight for total control of the resources. Because who controls the resources control the what?
World.
So now, it's just like in your body. The parasites want to control the what? The resources of your body. And once they control the resources in this body, I mean, you feel weak. You say, I don't feel right. Well, who do you think is sapping your resources? Those parasites that exist within the system. That's the same way spiritually and psychologically. This is what's happening on a worldwide scale.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? And you have to see it that way. And it's all set up for a big war down the line. Because Russia and China said, this is we can't take too much more of this mess. You know, people get to slapping. You know, people lose it all. They slap the old lady side of the head, or the old lady posts some grits on somebody. Trying to get some strength. You know how that goes. People just lose it after a while. And that's what we're coming to. This is what we're trying to make you conscious of and tell you how you can survive and prosper this without losing your mind and have some stability, because Yahweh will preserve your seed. Or that bloodline. These bloodlines are not going nowhere. You just got to make sure you're in a bloodline. Okay, is that all of that, baby?
Go back to the
Yeah, go back to that.
to the mortgage
Okay. Yeah, when you get me that, let me know that.
I don't know where it is. I'm not trying to find it.
Okay, the mortgage thing there, it's about 12 minutes. I think you got it right there.
Mortgage situation, foreclosures, and get your take on the Federal Reserve as well. So I'm glad we've got you for a couple hours.
Now listen to
You know,
this.
here we are. This is supposed to be the season for retailers. This is supposed to be the season where people reach into their pocketbooks, pull out their cash, pull out their credit cards, and go shopping.
They're going to be prepared to walk away, so they're going to want bargains, and they're going to. So we've seen cases of people, you know, servicers signing and processing 400.
Why do they say attorney generals? But that's what they say, attorneys general. In the 50 states,
Weird. I think small business feels very uncomfortable.
To show you how crazy it is, when we grew up as children, Christmas shopping began after what?
Thanksgiving.
Now Christmas begins now after what?
Halloween.
So you can see that the retailers are strapped. People ain't got no money and all this infrastructure. We told you that half these stores will close up. These big box stores. You're going to visit like Lowe's, Kohl's, stores all over the place. You know, those stores cannot exist because the folks ain't got no money.
Right.
And it'll get tired, and eventually all those people in those stores will be laid off. And
Yeah,
their
Christmas.
homes got to be built for what? Foreclosure. So listen, the whole system, Yahweh said, I got something with the devil's system. I'm going to play with it just like you play with Xbox. The devil is switching around. You can't figure it out because there's a force working behind him.
Right.
Okay, go ahead, baby. Now
About
listen,
sort of the working
are we talking about the
environment.
devil system?
So I think this is going to be a pretty conservative season. I really do.
Retailers, if they discount heavily, they might increase volume, but their margins go down.
Yeah,
right?
the shoppers are going to be opportunity shoppers.
Yeah.
And they're going to be prepared to walk away. So they're going to want bargains, and they're going to be, it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to be more utilitarian. In other words, you're going to get for your kids things that they really need, as opposed to, sort of luxury items. So I think this is going to be a careful season.
Attorneys General in the 50 states. I've always wondered, by the way, why they always said that. Why do they say Attorney Generals, but that's what they say, Attorneys General. In the 50 states want to stop some of the major mortgage lenders from foreclosing because they feel the documents aren't correct. I remember you and I were talking about this about a year ago, where some of the documents that would go into a foreclosure hearing weren't there. Yet, the foreclosures happen.
I had this up on the blog a couple of weeks ago. There was a gentleman in Florida who bought a house, very modest house, paid all cash, George. Bank of America foreclosed on him. He didn't have a mortgage, let alone one with Bank of America. Now,
did you catch that? You paid cash for a house, and Bank of America foreclosed on it.
And he didn't have a mortgage.
The records are all screwed up. Paperwork is all screwed up. So they said, wait a minute, you paid cash for it. We didn't know about it. That house is in foreclosure. So you got to go get a lawyer to get it out. I'm just trying to show you how this system is crazy.
He didn't even use Bank of America.
He didn't even, but the point is, the mortgage is in it. Let me say this. Before you had this big crisis, all mortgages were recorded in the county and deed.
Right.
The state in the county.
Right.
So that if you want a mortgage in the county, in Cook County, it's got to go down to Cook County deed to be recorded. And there's fees to be paid. Wall Street, but the Bloodline bankers said, you know what? We ain't dealing with that county. We're going to put all these deeds together, and we ain't going to pay no fees. They ain't keep no records, so ain't nobody keeping records. That stuff is all screwed up. And there's a lot of fraud in there, too. You know what I'm saying? So they can't keep track of their own jive.
Right. And eventually kill himself.
Okay, exactly.
now those are fraudulent documents, right?
They sure are.
So we've seen cases of people, servicers signing and processing 400 packages of documents in a day, which is impossible. No one could do that.
Tom knows somebody who owns a house, and some people showed up at the house and said, get out of my house. I own it. Now, this guy has never been in default at all.
Right.
And he said, what are you talking about? Apparently, there's a crooked realtor out there who has been selling houses that that they're not even listed.
Right.
Apparently, she goes up to these people and said, you can't go in there. It's been foreclosed on, but you can look at it from the outside, make me an offer. And they'll say something ridiculous. She'll take the cash or whatever they do. Most of them don't finance. You can't finance something like that. And she's gone.
Right.
And now they show up and they want their keys. Right. And this guy says, what? So now he's telling these people, get out of here.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
So the fraud is rampant. It's all over the place.
I don't know if you've seen this new documentary, Inside Job. Have you heard about it?
Yeah, I have.
It's really got people going because one of the things you see, George, there are four kinds of major fraud that we're dealing with, and that is so overwhelming. One is the foreclosure fraud, which is really the back end. But if you and I have talked a lot about the origination fraud, but also there's the servicing and securitization fraud. So now it's coming out, in fact, that people were taking the same loan and putting it in 10 different security pools without documentation. They're just selling it. Can you imagine you have a $200,000 mortgage, you sell it to 10 pools, well, you've got $2 million,
Unbelievable.
Anyway,
and nobody checks, right? Nobody checks.
I think the system was engineered to do it. And, but there's a fourth kind of fraud, and that's policy fraud, because for all of this to go on, a very big portion of the residential mortgage market is directly or indirectly guaranteed by the federal government and very heavily regulated. So this kind of systemic fraud can't go on unless the policies are engineered to facilitate it, particularly with the mortgage insurance, FHA, HUD, Ginnie Mae, these things. And so, so there are four different levels of fraud. The foreclosure fraud, as outrageous as it is a tiny percent. And so we see, it's good that the attorney generals are organizing to do something about it, but we kind of need them to do something about the origination and securitization fraud.
Joe?
Okay, so you understand how you would sell a mortgage for it to matter. She said it was designed. again, we're dealing with the what? The bloodlines that originated. The average person can't go in there and have that type of power to set this system up. These are the bloodlines of the Illuminati as they begin to set up the whole process of the whole banking system. This is bloodline, and they decided to perpetuate this huge fraud, and nobody went to what? Check. Nobody didn't check it. So it goes to show you that the power that they got, and people are terrified of messing with it. And one individual had said that he was a sheriff of Wall Street. That was who, Don? L.H. Spencer said he was a sheriff of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
They knew his big thing, he liked prostitutes.
Right.
He loved prostitutes. And the first thing they did was they point that right out in the public. They knew he was doing it all the time. Right. He had to step down. So listen, when they showed, they said, listen, you don't mess with what?
Wall Street.
You don't mess with these bloodlines.
He thought he was.
He thought he had some power.
I knew they was going to get him sooner or later.
And see, you can understand what he's saying, that you're only dealing with two powers. The power of darkness, the power of light. And then the Yahshua Messiah, that's when he said all power is given to me in heaven and what?
Earth.
And in earth. Okay, so now we have established this. So let me go back briefly and put this thing together and get me in that book that American Indians. Okay, I gotta get it to this moment. Okay, I want someone to give me, let us start back. Okay, we started out with the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, coming through the divided waters, they came to Canaan land. They set their temple and everything up. This is the bloodline of the Israelites. And we know that all this was a type to point to the true bloodline, which is Yahshua Messiah.